When writing a formal paper using quotes, which are also sometimes called text evidence, text details, or direct quotes, you need to embed them in sentences. This means that the quotes are introduced or followed up by your own ideas. There are three keys to success for embedding your quotes. One is introductory clauses or phrases. The second is punctuating correctly. And the third is using correct citations for your quotes. Let's start with introductory clauses and phrases. In order for your quotes and evidence to read smoothly, they must be embedded into your sentences. This means that the quotes are introduced with a clause or phrase of your own. This creates fluent sentences. Here is an example of a correctly embedded quote. As you can see, the clause, as President Kennedy once said, is introducing the direct quote. It gives context and creates a smooth transition for your reader between your ideas and the evidence that supports your ideas. Compare the correctly embedded quote to this incorrect use of a quote. Quotes should never stand alone. They need additional clauses and phrases from you. You do not want to have one independent sentence and then immediately move into another independent sentence that is your quote. The quote must be embedded into a sentence. Check out these resources for more information about embedding quotes. Next, let's look at correct punctuation for your quote. Once you have decided on a clause or phrase to introduce your quote, it is important to punctuate it correctly. First, you must use quote marks for direct quotes. Direct quotes are taken directly from a source with the original wording. Look at this example and notice how the quote marks appear both at the beginning and at the end of the quoted material. The quote marks give a clear indication that you are using someone else's words. By employing quote marks correctly, you avoid plagiarism and give your reader a good understanding of the difference between your ideas and commentary and the evidence. In order to introduce the quote, your introductory clause or phrase also needs some punctuation. Typically, you will use a comma after your introductory clause or phrase to indicate a pause and shift to the direct quote. For example, Hamlet shows his distress as he exclaims, comma, how weary, stale, flat, and unprofitable seem to me all the uses of this world. The comma comes between the introductory clause and the direct quote. The comma is another indication that your sentence is serving two purposes. It is both giving information about an upcoming piece of evidence and providing the evidence itself. You will also need to use ending punctuation for your quote. The type of punctuation depends upon your citation and the punctuation at the end of the quote. If you are using in-text citations, the ending punctuation for your sentence goes after the citation. The citation. Check out this example and notice that the period comes after the citation. The Aztec warriors were well-trained and professional soldiers who, comma, direct quote, wore padded cotton armor carried a wooden or reed shield covered in hide, and wielded weapons such as super sharp obsidian sword club, a spear or dart thrower, and bow and arrows. End quote marks, citation Cartwright, and a period. The ending punctuation appears outside of the final parentheses. If your quote ends with an exclamation or question mark, though, the rules are a little different. You include the exclamation or question mark in your quote marks to show the emotion the author was including. Then you use a period after your citation. Check out the example to see this. The exclamation mark is included inside the quote mark. A period is included outside of the final parentheses. This dual punctuation indicates that your sentence was a statement, so needed to end with a period. However, the quote itself needed different punctuation to show tone and emotion, so the exclamation or question mark is inside the quote mark. Check out these resources for more information about punctuating your quotes and citations. The final critical piece to embedding quotations involves correctly citing your quotes. It is critical that you give credit to the original author or authors of quotes. Citations are the correct way to indicate that you are using the words or ideas of another in order to support your own thinking. Correctly citing in your writing helps you to avoid plagiarism. There are many rules and formatting requirements for citations. These examples all follow MLA citation format. When in doubt, reference the Purdue OWL website for more help. Generally, you use the author's last name as the citation in parentheses. Look at the example to see what this looks like. Parentheses surround the ending citation. The author's last name is inside of the parentheses, and the period is outside of the final parentheses. However, there will be times when the author's last name is not available to you or there is no author's last name. In these circumstances, you need to use the first word from your works cited page for the appropriate entry. For example, this quote from debate.org does not have an author. The first word of the works cited citation would be the name debate.org, so this is used as the in-text citation reference. The parentheses still surround the citation, and it is the main website URL that would appear first in the works cited, so it appears for your in-text citation. For more resources about MLA in-text citations, check out these sources.